In 1933, a silver miner named Harold Knutson watched copper prices collapse by nearly 70%, while the silver in his pocket bought almost exactly what it had bought 5 years earlier. He wasn't smarter than the copper men. He wasn't better connected. He was just holding the thing that had a different relationship with human fear. Two metals dug from the same earth in the same era by the same kind of men, and one of them made it through the 1930s intact, and one of them lost more than half its value in 18 months. The difference wasn't luck. It was structure. And that structure has shown up in every major recession for the last 150 years without exception. Before the evidence, there is a framework that makes everything else make sense. Every metal sits somewhere on a spectrum. At one end, pure monetary metals, things people hold because they store value. At the other end, pure industrial metals, things factories consume. Silver sits toward the monetary end. It has industrial uses, but it has 5,000 years of monetary history underneath them. Copper sits almost entirely at the industrial end. It has almost no monetary history. When factories slow down, copper has nothing else to hold it up. Silver does. That asymmetry explains almost everything that follows. The first major test came in the Long Depression of 1873. Copper fell more than 40% as railroad and telegraph construction collapsed. A copper smelter named Thomas Carver survived, but spent the next decade digging out from debt. 300 miles away, a silver merchant named Elias Whitmore held a metal the government was legally required to buy under the Bland-Allison Act, purchasing millions of dollars worth every month, regardless of what the economy was doing. Whitmore's silver lost some value. It did not lose 40%. He kept his business, his workers, and his house. Same depression. Same industry in the broadest sense. Completely different outcomes. Not because of skill, because one metal had a government floor, and the other had only the market. The second test was the most brutal in modern history. Between 1929 and 1932, copper collapsed from 18 cents a pound to 5 cents, a 72% drop. The Anaconda Copper Mining Company, one of the largest industrial enterprises in America, fell from $175 per share to $3.50. That is a 98% loss. Silver fell too, from $1.30 per ounce to about 25 cents, an 80% drop that sounds catastrophic until you watch what happened next. In 1934, the government began buying silver aggressively under the Silver Purchase Act. The price nearly tripled in 2 years, coming out of the worst economic collapse in American history. Copper spent the rest of the 1930s grinding slowly back. It did not reach its 1929 price again until World War II created the industrial demand that only a global conflict generates. The pattern was identical to 1873. Both metals fell when the crisis hit. When governments intervened to stabilize the monetary system, silver caught the bid. Copper had to wait for factories. Fear came back before the factories did. The most important test for anyone watching today is 2008. Lehman Brothers collapsed in September, and within weeks, the global financial system was in freefall. Copper fell from $4.08 per pound to $1.25 by December, a 69% collapse in 5 months. Silver fell from $20 per ounce to $8.80, a 56% drop. Significant, but 13 percentage points smaller than copper. And then the recovery arrived, and the recovery is where the story becomes impossible to ignore. By April of 2011, silver reached $49 per ounce, from $8.80 at the bottom to $49 at the peak, a 450% gain in roughly 2.5 years. Copper recovered strongly too, reaching $4.60 per pound by 2011, a 268% gain from its bottom. Both metals recovered. Silver recovered faster. Silver recovered further. The reason is the part most people miss. 2008 was not just an industrial recession. It was a monetary crisis. The Federal Reserve's balance sheet went from $900 billion to over $2 trillion in less than a year. When money printing starts, fear about the value of paper rises. When that fear rises, silver catches a bid that copper never sees. The monetary half of silver's nature woke up exactly when its industrial half was most damaged, and the combination produced a recovery copper could not match. There is one exception worth understanding because it is the data point that complicates the clean narrative. Between 2011 and 2016, China's industrial growth slowed sharply. Construction pulled back. Factory output fell. Copper dropped from $4.60 per pound to $2.10, a 54% decline over 5 years. Silver dropped from $49 to $13.50, a 72% decline, worse than copper over that window. This matters. 2011 to 2016 was not a monetary crisis. It was a straightforward industrial slowdown with no government printing response of consequence. Silver had no monetary fear to feed it. Worse, it had a monetary premium from 2008 that now unwound. When fear subsides, silver loses the premium fear created. Copper never had that premium, so it never lost it. Silver does not outperform copper in every recession. Silver outperforms copper in recessions where governments respond by printing where the monetary system itself feels unstable. In a clean industrial slowdown with no monetary dimension, silver has no advantage and may have a disadvantage. The question you are actually answering when you choose between these metals is not which one will go up. The question is, what kind of recession is coming? If the next downturn is primarily an industrial demand shock without monetary intervention, silver and copper will probably fall together. If the next downturn triggers the kind of monetary response that has followed every major crisis since 2008, then silver's monetary floor will assert itself, and silver will recover faster and further than copper. The historical record across 4 major downturns gives a consistent answer about which of those scenarios has been more common. Since 1913, governments have responded to every serious recession with some form of monetary intervention. Every single one. The pattern of what that does to silver versus copper has not changed in 150 years. Copper is a bet on human activity. How many buildings are going up? How many wires are being laid? Silver is a bet on human anxiety. How worried are people about the value of the money in their pocket? Those bets are related, but in a recession, they diverge in ways that matter enormously. The silver miner in 1933 didn't know why his metal behaved differently than the copper men's metal. He just knew it did. The records tell us why. And the records are long enough now that not knowing feels like a choice. Subscribe if you want these patterns every week and tell me in the comments which recession in this video surprised you most and why. I'll see you in the next one.